Good day everyone, I'm Jeanette Alvarez and I'm narrate the story of Melchora Aquino. Melchora Aquino, also known as Tandansora, was a very fierce protector of the Katipunan. Her name Tandansora was actually a form of endearment used by Andres Bonifacio and his Katipuneros to call Melchora. It derives from the words matanda, an old person, and Sora, a contraction of how they pronounce Melchora. Back in those days, attaching matanda to a name was considered respectful, acknowledging a person's wisdom and seniority, as opposed to its modern usage that often offends people because of insinuation of senility, inutility, and loss of vigor. But Melchora, even in her advanced years, was far from senile or inutile. She was a vigorous enabler of the revolution, using her wealth and resources to further its cause. Many envisioned Melchora Aquino was an old henchwoman whose face is telling of the passage of years. Not many people know that when she was younger, she captivated her entire town with her beauty. As a young maiden, Melchora was often chosen to portray Reina Elena during Santa Cruzan on Feast of Flores de Mayo. By tradition, young and beautiful maidens were selected to portray Reina Elena, who would walk in procession around town while reciting prayers in honor of the Blessed Virgin. Apart from her beauty, Melchora was also a talented singer. She would often perform at local fiestas, parties, and plays. She also sang at church. Although Melchora never went to school, she was a person who was born in a family of means. Her parents managed a farm, which she inherited along with other business interests. She would not have been able to support the Katipunan had she been poor. She was no doña, but she powered the Katipunan with all the resources she could muster, and that proved enough. Like many Filipinos at the time, Melchora found livelihood in farming. Her parents were farmers, and so she was. When she was older, she married Fulgencio Ramos, who was cabeza de barangay, one of the few government posts that Filipinos could hold. Together, they had 6 children. Fulgencio died shortly after their 60th was born, leaving Melchora to raise them all on her own. Although she never received a formal education. She was very intelligent and was literate at a very early age. With her grit she learned from her farmer parents, she made sure that all the children received the proper schooling she never had. Many years later, her children would help her with her livelihood, some of whom would become supporters and members of the Katipunan. As a farmer herself, Melchora was empathic with many of the countrymen who were heavily taxed and often made to pay for fiestas in honor of various saints. The hardships she endured as a single mother only bolstered her resolve to support the Katipunan, to which she sacrificed almost everything in her possession, her house, and even her children. Her home became one of the headquarters of the Katipunan, where revolutionaries would frequently hold secret meetings. Bonifacio also frequented her home and sought her advice and wisdom. Although she was not a member of secret society, her very close connection with the Bonifacio and the Katipunan meant that she had a very deep knowledge of many of their most sensitive plans and operations. She also knew many of Bonifacio's group quite well, including his top officers. They were like sons to her. She protected them very fiercely. To these men, she provided food, shelter, and medical care using her own resources. She also provided crucial aid to its members by giving 100 sacks of rice and 10 carabaos, the cost of which were more several years' worth of wages. In 1896, the Katipunan was discovered by Spanish colonial government thanks to the confession of one of its members to the Spanish priest. The discovery prompted Andres Bonifacio to launch the revolution during the Cry of Balintawak. Melchora Aquino was there supporting them, but it also marked the start of sufferings that she would undergo in the hands of the Spaniards. The confession of Teodoro Patino resulted in the Spaniards raiding everything that had connection with the secret society. They raided hideouts, printing presses, and houses, not leaving a stone unturned. They confiscated secret documents, maps, and plans of the revolution. One of the casualties of the discovery was 84-year-old Melchora, who paid heavily for her action. The Spaniards immediately targeted the old woman. They knew that she was a top figure who knew intricate details of the Katipunan's plans, its members, officers, hideouts, financiers, how it operated, and more. On August 29, 1896, just 6 days after Melchora participated in the tearing of cedulas in the Cry of Balintawak, the Spaniards collected her without regard to her age of frailty. She was shaken, but not afraid. A day later, she was transferred to Philippine prison in Manila. There, she was aggressively interrogated under threat of imprisonment and death, but she refused to divulge any information about the Katipunan. To punish her, they deported her to Guam, where she was forced to work as a household helper. Perhaps the Spaniard thought the elderly woman would succumb to her situations, expecting her to die in time, but the old Melchora simply had no intention of giving up. Having lost everything she had, her family, her house, her country, she gave the Spaniards one last laugh. She outlived the Spaniards' colonial rule in the Philippines. After 7 years of exile, on February 26, 1903, the great old woman of the Revolution was allowed to return home to the Philippines, where she received a grand welcome by her children, her neighbors, and the former Katipuneros she sheltered. The American government offered to give her pension and monetary rewards for her sacrifices, but they declined the offers, saying she was content with the fact that she helped the revolution's cause. She lived out her life until her death on February 19, 1919, at the impressive age of 107. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. Goodbye!